my friends. It's Nanny from Nanny and the Moose. And today I'm inviting you all to the final episode of the early years, all about retirement. I know you're looking forward to this. So please join Moose and myself in front of the fireplace for another fireside chat. And we will talk all about your rants and raves about retirement. Those of you who are there, are you enjoying it? Or is it not quite what you expected? And I'm going to give you some tips on preparing yourself, those of you maybe who are in your early 50s and 60s. And then we're going to show you what you have to look forward to. Just a little tease of some of the things we've done. We've gone to Hawaii with Mikey and his family. We've had so much fun with Mike and Colleen. We've gone to Mexico with them and their kids on trips. We've gone on a cruise to Alaska. We even went dog sledding. I know you all like the photographs. Moosie's been very busy digging them up of some of the things that we've done, big things and little things, in our retirement of almost 20 years. So, pull up a chair and join us by the fireside. Well, here we are again, ready to wind up our series.
Does this have an ending?
This is it, folks. Okay. Retirement is the ending of the early years series, because here we are, full on in retirement, and it's probably our 18th or 19th year, almost 20 years that we have been retired. We've been lucky. We've lasted a while.
Yeah, healthy too.
Yeah.
Well, not that healthy, but
well,
we don't talk about that.
Most of the time, yes, we do.
I don't talk about me because I'm a sad sack.
No, you're
I
not.
fall down and go boom and break stuff.
I'll fall down and go boom. As long as we can get him up again, he's okay.
That's
right?
why I don't want to talk about it.
Every once in a while we get the gardener or whoever. That's good. As long as we have somebody around to help him when he goes boom. But we had a train of thought going here, but okay, so I'm going to start again. So we're here, and I was just going to say, I remember what I was going to say. We were, I believe, 68 when we retired. Do you think that? It was in 2004, so what would that make us? We were living in Las Vegas at the time, and as you know, I said,
let's get the hell out of here.
Right, because I was missing the family and all the grandkids and the kids, and I wanted to go back. So we realized what we had to do in order to retirement. I think I touched upon some questions of some things you have to think about before you retired. Number one, we were in place for Medicare, and that's a biggie, guys, a real biggie. Health insurance is very expensive if you don't have Medicare, and you have to be prepared for the unexpected. And thank God we've had Medicare, because we've had the unexpected with a lot of medical bills, and Medicare has been a savior. But so we were beyond 65, so we had Medicare in place. We could both draw on our Social Security, and I was retiring from teaching and had a small pension, not a big one, because I didn't teach forever and ever in Las Vegas. So I did get a nice small little pension. So we knew what our fixed income was going to be. We knew our health needs were going to be met with Medicare. And the big thing that really this was an advantage, a huge advantage for us. And if this happens to you, I hope it does, because it's worked for us. When we were ready to retire, we came home on weekends and we started looking at some homes in the general area where, fortunately, all our kids lived. Most of them, almost all of them. And we were looking at the rents. We didn't want to buy, because the first thing that we did in Vegas as soon as we decided we were going to retire was we put our home on the market. This was the big Red Barn Acre, the home that we had for 25 years. And at the time, we never did sell it, thank heavens, because we were the beneficiaries of a huge real estate market. Because we had this home in a town that was strictly zoned for horses, minimum acres of zone. It was very rare in this particular area to have that. And we say we thanked Blondie, the horse, that the kids had to bring down from San Francisco. So we realized that we were going to make a huge killing on the house. So there were things we had to do. We had to put in a new driveway and fix up some things. We put it on the market and we didn't even list it with a realtor. We were lucky to sell it by owner. Of course, I was in real estate and we sold it. Well, I have to tell you, we paid $65,000 for it in 1972. So you can imagine what our equity was in the end. So what we did with that money was we did give a little bit to each child just for fun. And the next thing we did was we sat down and we figured out, okay, this is what we have. We put that money in a portfolio after we dispersed some money to the kids. And we thought, oh, looks like we can live till what?
Well, yeah, you figure it out. You got to die by the time you're 84.
Well, that's what we figured.
We made it.
We did it. We're here.
We fouled up the curve.
Well, we had some good years with and this all was based on if we had a fairly decent market with the portfolio that we had. What we decided to do was we were certain things we wanted to do, big things, cruises and trips with the children or without the children. They say that you should not take out, what's the percentage?
I don't know. Some people say 6%, some people say 4%. But you know, the thing that you talk about the market going up and down, we were out of real estate. We were in the stock market. When the market is bad, it's paper loss. You didn't lose anything.
Right.
When it's good, you didn't gain anything. Now, if it's good, you can take a piece of it and go on a trip. Sure. If it's bad, probably don't want to do that.
Right.
And we don't.
Right.
But basically, we kind of sit there, and when it goes down, we don't do anything.
Right.
We don't sell the stock. We don't get first-class tickets.
No, we don't.
We never got first-class tickets anyway, did we?
Yes, we did. Once we did, and I can't remember where. Oh, the cruise to Alaska. We had a great time, but we'll talk about that another time. So we left Vegas. At the time, Colleen and Micah were house hunting. Micah is a news anchor man with a local station here in Southern California. And he wanted to live in this area so he could commute to town back and forth. Looking around, and they sat us down one night, knowing that we were retiring and looking at homes to rent. And they said, we have an idea. How about you guys live with us? Woo! And this is our youngest child. Well, you can't live with your kids in their home and be a burden to them or be around them. We didn't want that. We wanted our privacy. But he said, Mike and Colleen said, we figured this out. Why don't we find a property that has a nice little guest house of some sort, if we can, and you can live there.
And he found it.
He did.
And here we are.
And here we are in this beautiful little 90-year-old adobe on their property in the hills near all the kids. Very often when we're at home, the best times are spent with all the 6 kids and all their kids and all the grandkids and great-grandkids. We love our gardening. We love growing things for the little ones. Moosie loves his baseball with his sons. And we'd love to just go to all the baseball games, the dances, and we'd love to go to our daughter's charity ball, galas, and dress up. That's the fun of it for me. I love the dressing up. So we are so fortunate to have that. And this is called a nanny pod. And if any of you are very fortunate to have children that have a nanny pod or would plan to have a nanny pod, it's ideal. So we're ahead of the game right there because we do not have the housing costs. other thing that you have to think about and ask yourself the questions about, are you ready mindfully? What is going to make you happy as to how you will live all these 20 years in retirement? Are you the type that wants to travel? Well, if you are, then you better have a good portfolio because you'll need extra money. Hopefully, you'll have some nice big pensions. That would be nice. But think about that. A lot of people also think, oh, I want to move away, sell my house, and leave. Now, we know a lot of people who did that and decided that it just wasn't for them. They did miss their families and wanted to be closer to them. A couple of them had some health crises and needed to be closer to family. So if you don't have family, that's great. You can think about moving to tropical island, a warmer place if you live back east or whatever. But as long as your life has to be balanced. A lot of people think retirement is just going to be reading, gardening, just enjoying yourself. That can be great and is great for some people. It's good for us right now during COVID times, and even when we're not in the past traveling, we can enjoy the quiet times. Moose loves
Here we are in the garden again. Love cooking with all the little grandkids, baking our pies with the pie birds, growing pretty flowers, and we love to go to our little cozy places up the coast for weekends.
I have hobbies that I love doing, and of course, I love being around the kids. I love going out with my daughters and doing things there. So think of all these things before you retire. And then there's one thing that I'm going to make a dedicated video for because I have a lot of thoughts on this. And that is that if you are not ready to retire and just not do anything, that you feel you want to retire from your job, but you want to do something, it's something called side hustles. I love that word, don't you? Don't you love that? Side hustle. It sounds a little bit illegal, but it's not. A side hustle is basically a part-time job, something that you do to bring in some money, and maybe that would be how you would afford your trips and travels. And I have 20 ideas on great side hustles that will make you great money. And I know a lot of people who have done this. I substituted until I was 80 years old. Bill consulted. He had consulting jobs that filled his time in between his reading and other things. So those are called side hustles. We'll talk about those in another video. So just think about some of these ideas. We are not experts in any way in the financial field or whatever. We just give you some ideas that we've heard from friends of ours and, of course, our own experiences.
This whole thing of 65 is kind of, George Burns, he didn't agree. He said 65 is garbage. He said, when I was 65, I still had dimples.
Good one. Moosie loves George Burns. George Burns lived to be 100, right?
There you go.
There you go. Right. Okay, let's get back to some of the things we've done. And I want you to know that when you do retire, I have heard people on YouTube say, I am 59 and I'm scared to death that I'm getting old, or I can't believe I'm going to be 60 next month. You are little spring chickens, believe me. The best is yet to come. Honestly, I say about myself, I'm a woman who wants to do 1,000 things.
But your feet are on the ground.
No, not that one. In a body that doesn't want to do a thing. and that's only recently, and it's not that bad. But when we were 68 and retiring, we were full of piss and vinegar. Honestly, we were, weren't we? But we were. And as long as you take care of your health, And prepare for that, by the way, when you're 50 or 60. Get your exercise, go to the doctors, and take care of yourself, and you will sail through retirement. So basically, what we're going to do with the second half of this video is Moosie has spent a lot of time digging out photos, and I just peeked at some of them. Oh, it's so wonderful to look back at photos, and he dug up photos of almost all the things we've done since we've retired. And let me tell you, folks, you wouldn't believe some of the things we've done in our 70s. I'm going to just run through some of them, but some of the unusual things that we've done I should say, we took an Amtrak train ride. I think we were 1 or 2 nights overnight on a train, and this was only, gosh, we might have been close to 80 when we did this. And we wanted to go from the LA area all the way up to Seattle, all along the coast. And then we wanted to go to Vancouver and across to the island of Victoria. So we booked these tickets in a room that had a double bed and then a bunk on top. And it had its own bathroom. We thought, oh, this is great. And your meals are included. I would suggest doing something like this. It was wonderful, the scenery and everything. The only disadvantage was that when we got to the room and we looked at the bed, it was one of those fold down. It was a bench or a seat in the daytime, and then at night you folded it down. And I'll tell you what, this was no way a double bed. And
well, it wasn't supposed to be, because you were supposed to climb up in the bunk up above.
So Nanny kind of looked up at the bunk, and the bunk was about 2 feet wide, and I'd have to go up a ladder and get there. And I thought, there's no way this girl is climbing up that ladder and sleeping up there. So we devised a way of sleeping. We slept head to foot. My feet were next to Moosie's head, and this was the way we managed to sleep. It was okay, wasn't it?
Sure.
So that was the only disadvantage. We decided if we'd ever do that again, we'd get 2 rooms, adjoining rooms, and do it that way. But the meals were out of this world. We'd sit in one of these cars in the daytime. We had 2 full days going up the coast, and the views were out of this world, of the ocean and through Oregon and the woods. And wasn't that a fun trip?
It was, but that was one of about a dozen.
I know.
So
Here we all are on our 50th wedding anniversary, the whole family down at the beach for a weekend. My 80th birthday was a sock-hop party that the kids gave for me. Everyone dressed in costume. They all danced to a West Side Story, and boy, did we have fun. Moosie's, on the other hand, was a roast. His 80th was fun, and they were funny. Debbie and her kids did a rendition of The Owl and the Pussycat, and here's a picture of all of us on his 80th. Every year we used to have Oktoberfest parties where we would dress up and eat sausages and brats. Fun times. The family just kept getting bigger and bigger. The year before last, in the summer, we went up to Billy and his wife Bonnie's ranch in Idaho, right on the Clearwater River. We went up in their beautiful motorhome and back, and we had the most wonderful time. The scenery in Idaho is beautiful. His place is great. We helped Billy and Bonnie plant 360 vines for a new vineyard. We had St. Patrick's Day parties every year with big tents. Moosie and all the boys dressed in their kilts. Moosie sang Danny Boy. We had great times up in Big Bear in the mountains. And Moosie and I went to Dodger Spring training in Arizona for a couple years in a row. These are just some of the fun things that we did, little things besides our cruises and trips to Europe. Those were my favorite, though.
Did I talk about the houseboat in Holland? That when we were late 70s, mid to late 70s, We went to Europe with Mikey and Sabrina and Dane, their oldest child. And he was 3 or 4. He was delightful. And they rented a houseboat right in the middle of Amsterdam. In those canals, and the buildings all around, and the bicycles and the cars and everything. That was one of the most exciting things I think I've ever done. They have all these houseboats parked along the canals, and you step inside, and you get used to the river. There's not a lot of movement in it, but this houseboat was the best thing to stay in. Dane and I would be feeding the ducks out the windows, and we, of course, traveled all over Amsterdam. We went to the tulip field. Loved
that
Holland.
houseboat was just one of a dozen things that we did on that trip.
I know.
And some of them, some of them you don't count on, you don't plan for. And if you see the opportunity, you have to take it. You have to do it.
Was that the trip where we stayed in the French village where no one spoke English?
Yep.
Was that the same trip?
Yeah, I spoke English.
Yeah,
I
you
mean
did.
French.
and Dane thought he spoke French because he could say merci and some other word. But we stayed in a village.
That's the same trip as the boat.
Same trip. We visited this. We stayed for a week in this 15th century home, and I have pictures of that. I'm going to put that on. I didn't see those in some of the ones you picked out.
Oh, they're there.
Are they? But that was such a fun trip. And we were also in Belgium. Oh, we went to Normandy.
We didn't plan to go to Normandy, but we were in Normandy, so let's go to Normandy Beach, and that was a gobstopper.
That's a good one. I like that word. Gobstopper. You can tell how old we are. That trip also, we went to Mount St. Michael's in France.
Climbing up.
I climbed 400 steps all the way to the top.
Here's beautiful Mount St. Michael's, and here we are climbing those 400 steps. We ate so well in France. Here we are eating mussels and all sorts of seafood, seeing the beautiful sights in Paris, staying in a little small 15th century town. Dane loved the Eiffel Tower, and Sabrina and I sat and ate under the Eiffel Tower. She loved the chocolate shops in Bruges in Belgium. Great time.
I was in my late 70s. Oh, that's one of the proudest
I
moments.
didn't.
You sat down in the bottom and chatted with some people.
Oh, I was out here for you.
We took a first-class celebrity cruise to Alaska. Wonderful, and we even went dog sledding. But when we went to Europe, we always sailed canard. I loved it mostly because you would dress up every night in evening clothes, and it just was so fun. We really have gone to Europe on the 3 different queens. And some of our trips, I think this one might have been the one we took to Panama, where it was a 28-day cruise, and we wound up in New York going through the Panama Canal, and Moose especially loved that. I loved the theme nights on board where you dress up in the theme of the night. One night it was the gay 90s, one night it was British. This night, I believe, was Mardi Gras, and it was fun. The stops were great, always great little islands on most of the trips. Sitting on the deck was fun, getting the sun. I think this was when we went through the Panama Canal again. We stopped in Nicaragua. As we went through the Panama Canal, we saw. I think we stopped in Colombia too. But Moosie did love that Panama Canal going through, and he was trying to film it. That was very special to him.
And Ireland. This one's going to take a little time to talk about. We decided that we wanted to go to Ireland with the whole family. By that time, I guess there were 35 of us. And we wanted to rent a big home that we could all stay in. It didn't have to be in the city of Dublin or whatever, just somewhere. And then we wanted to travel around Ireland. We had grandchildren that were teenagers. We had grandchildren, obviously, that were married, or children that were married with grandchildren. We had babies.
But the problem was we had no clue as to where the ideal house was for us.
Right.
And how we would find it and what we would pay and so forth. And so you and Dub
You sent us over the
on a
year
scouting
before.
trip,
Yeah.
and you flew to Dublin and went all around Ireland and looked at a half a dozen or more places
Right,
that didn't all turn out, but the one that turned out was the best.
right.
And we
Well-
would never been able to find it.
Well, what we did was it took a lot of planning for one whole year. We had family meetings, all the big kids and the married grandchildren, and we wrote down how much the plane fare was. At that time, I think it was from LA to Dublin nonstop. On Aer Lingus, it was $500, less than that, I think, a little less than that. So we had that. We figured out, once we found this magnificent, it was a castle that was made into a manor house, about an hour outside of Dublin, right in the middle of Ireland. So we could take train trips and car trips everywhere. We toured with the kids, without them. We had 86 suitcases when we flew over. We had strollers. In fact, we did it twice. We did it.
Planning ahead, how do you get 80 pieces of luggage and 40 people to this place? We hired a bus.
We did. And the bus
Planned
picked us up
ahead.
at the airport.
Guy was there.
Not only that, but all the children saved their money for a year for this trip. And everybody would take turns doing meals at night, cooking. Oh, so if you should see, I will put enough of these on. That's something that you think you can never do something like that. And if you make your mind up to it, it's me and my manifestation of my dreams. We did it. We figured out a way to do it, and everybody cooperated. And I think there was one family that wasn't quite able to afford it.
Bunny hole.
And you know what? It's not a bunny hole. It's not a bunny hole. And all the rest of the children split the cost and paid for that one family, which I thought was fabulous. What a time we had. 2 weeks in Ireland at Christmas time. And we loved it so much that we went 2 years later again. And you'll see that. That was wonderful. Anyway, these trips, we made a list that every year we did almost one big thing, a cruise. My favorite things were sailing over to Europe. We would have to fly to New York and sail over. And then we would tour around in a car. One time, Moose and I drove for 6 weeks all over Wales and England and Scotland. That was when we went back to visit where we lived. You can do these things.
We did love our trip to Hawaii with Mikey and Sabrina and Dane. That was fun. I think that might have been our second time to Hawaii. We went once with Moosie's company. Here we are on a trip to the Grand Canyon. We drove to Arizona and then took the train from there. Do go ahead and watch our 5 videos from our trip to Idaho when we went up to see Billy and
Real estate.
his wife Bonnie.
If you have some good equity in a house you've owned forever, save it and then sell it right before you're going to retire. That's a good way. Or a portfolio or a pension or something. Try some of these things, and I don't think you'll be disappointed, my friends. You have to treat yourselves to these things. Don't think you can't do them, right? And Moose and I, we're middle class people, really.
You may be.
Well, I thought I was a princess when I was a child.
I'm upper, lower class.
At any rate, anyone can do it. Most people can do this. And if you don't have the finances or the means to do it, think about your side hustles to plan these things. But enjoy the simple things of retirement. For the past couple of years, that's what Moosie and I have done. We, as you know, we like our little car trips and have our lunches at Del Taco and all these other fun places. We like our yogurt trips. We drive to the beach. We don't get out of the car, but we smell the sea air. And we're happy, right?
Very happy.
Most of the time.
All the time.
Yes, we are.
Okay, good spot to quit.
I think it might be enough for now. All I can say
You
is...
can do your wrap up.
All right, I'll do the wrap up.
Just close it off.
All right, Moosie's getting tired.
No,
Say goodbye to your friends. They're going to miss you.
I can't hear you. Say goodbye. Thank you.
I'll wrap it up. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, my friends. It was fun for us to reminisce back and forth. We just love the reminiscing, and especially of our life the past 18 or 19 years, and still going strong, hopefully. So I want to thank you so much for all your wonderful comments during this whole series. I really had no intention of it lasting this long, but I guess that's what happens when you start reviewing your long life. Coming up, we have a few fun videos. We'll get back to the normal routine of our vlogging and taking our little car trips here and there. Maybe some, I haven't been to Walmart in such a long time. I haven't even been doing food shopping lately. I'm trying to eat from the freezer. Moose wants some Chinese food tonight, so maybe I'll go out and get some and bring it back. So thank you once again so much. We'll see you in a couple of days. For those of you who have not subscribed, I would like you to subscribe and come along on this journey with us. There's still a lot more to go. Bye for now. God bless us all.